Hello everyone, welcome to Apple Pie, and in today's video we're going to be talking about three terms. This is sine, cosine, and tangent. So these are the three basic trigonomic functions. They're the first three you'll learn. You'll use them, of course, a lot in trigonometry and then also in geometry pretty commonly when you're working with triangles. So in a word, what these three terms are ratios. They are ratios of the lengths of sides of a right triangle. In this case, they're most commonly used in right triangles, so we're just going to start out using those. They are ratios of side lengths of a right triangle. So you can have the sine of an angle corresponds to the sine of, well, this corresponds to the lengths of some other side of this triangle. So that's what we're going to be working through today. So the first and most important thing to know when you're working through problems with cosine, sine, and tangents are what they mean, of course. So let's go through that right now. So sine means of an angle, it is the ratio of the opposite length of the triangle to the hypotenuse. So if we're going to use this triangle here, this 30, 60, 90 triangle, this is kind of a special triangle, which means it's really easy for us to know both the lengths and the angles of it. If you want to learn more about that, you can check out this other video I'm going to put up on the screen now. Take a link to that one about special triangles. So anyway, for this triangle, the sine of 60 is going to be the square root of 3 over 2, because sine is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So in this case, the opposite side of the angle length 60 is the one that it doesn't touch, or the square root of 3 there, that leg. And the hypotenuse is, of course, 2, the diagonal line that is not part of the right angle. So the sine of 60 is going to be square root of 3 over 2, because it is opposite over hypotenuse. Then cosine is going to be something different. That's a different ratio. That is of adjacent to hypotenuse. So that adjacent side means that it's the side that is touching the angle but is not the hypotenuse. So that would be 1 in this case over 2, because that's the hypotenuse. So the cosine of 60 is 1 over 2. And the tangent of 60 is a little different. It doesn't involve the hypotenuse. It is the opposite angle over the adjacent angle. So in this case, it would be the square root of 3 over 1, because that's the opposite angle, which is the opposite measure, sorry. Opposite side length is square root of 3, and adjacent is 1. So that's what you just have to memorize. You just have to memorize those relations, that a sine is opposite over hypotenuse, a cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and that a tangent is opposite over adjacent. So there's a mnemonic people use to memorize this, which is SOHCAHTOA. If you spell that out, write it out like I have up at the top there, you see SOHCAHTOA, which stands for sine, opposite hypotenuse, cosine, adjacent hypotenuse, tangent, opposite adjacent, which is what you need to know. You need to know which sides correspond to which little word. So if you can just memorize that phrase, SOHCAHTOA, you can pretty much remember right away what each one of those functions are, which is very important moving forward. So at this point, what we should bring up is not only do we have sine, cosine, and tangent, we also have what's called arcsine, arccosine, and arctangent. So these are essentially the opposites of cosine, tangents, and sines, because if sine of an angle is the ratio of two side lengths, then the arcsine of two side lengths gives you the angle measurements. So here's what I mean by this. So on the video right now, you can see me writing out basically all 6 of these relationships that we know with sine, cosine, tangents. And I'm also going to write out all the arcsine, arccosine, and arctangent ratios that we know. So essentially, if you plug in the value of the two sides, the ratio of the two sides, or just divide them on your calculator, and plug those into the arcsine function, you will get the angle measurement that you want back out of it. All right, so let's now try solving a problem using these new functions that we have to work with us. So I'm going to draw this triangle here, this 3, 4, 5 right triangle, and that designated angle there, x, is what we're going to try to solve for. So we know from our functions that the sine of x right now is 3 over 5, because that's the opposite over hypotenuse. 3 is opposite, 5 is the hypotenuse. So sine of x is exactly 3/5. But we also know then that the arcsine of 3/5 is going to give us the angle measurement 5, which is what we want. So if we plug in the arcsine of 3/5 into our calculator, hit the arcsine, then quantity 3 divided by 5, and quantity, and hit enter, we're going to get back out a number which comes out to be 36.870 as our answer. So that right there is your angle measurement. You're done. That's the entire problem. Let's keep going just to make sure we can use all of our different functions. So let's now use cosine x. So the cosine of x is 4/5, because that is adjacent over hypotenuse, and we know that from that the arc cosine of 4/5 is going to give us our angle measurement x. So if we do the same thing, plug that into our calculator, we're going to get the same answer because we're measuring the same angle. And since we know that these are actual measurements that can be in a triangle, that's our answer is going to come out the same. And if we do it one more time with tangents here, we know tangent of x is 3/4. So arctangent of quantity 3/4 is going to give us our angle measurement x, which gives us, again, the same answer, which means that we've done it correctly all 3 times. All right, so let's do one more type of problem, which is when you're given the measurement of one angle and one side, and you need to find the measurement of another side. Now, to do this kind of problem is a little more involved. You have to understand what you're doing a little better. So let's take a problem here. Let's assume that y there is 47 and a is length 39, and we need to solve for c. So what we can do, if we take the sine of y, we're getting the ratio of a to c, a divided by c, and the thing we come out with is 0.731. So what that is a divided by c is equal to 0.731. And we can finish this problem by saying a divided by c, which is 39 divided by c, is equal to 0.731. And then just solve that problem. So we can set it up, how I like to do it is in this fractional form. We have a divided by c is equal to 0.731 over 1. That's the definition of the sine function. And if we fill that out what we can, which is 39 divided by c is equal to 0.731 over 1, we can use the helicopter method. If you've ever seen this before, this is when we have 2 equal fractions. We can multiply the opposite numbers there and have them equal to each other, and that still be true. So we can have 39 is equal to 0.731c. And then if we just solve that like we would a regular equation, dividing both sides by 0.731, we can come to our answer, which is 53.352 is equal to c. And that's our answer there. So what you need to do if problems like this, you need to find the function that you want, the one that you need to use, which is the function that involves both the side length you know and the side length you want to know. Then take the actual function of the angle you have. So in this case, it was sine. If we had the measurements for b and c, then we would use cosine. You take that function, take the value of it, and then set it up as a fraction of the 2 sides, comparing have a b over c equal to whatever the cosine of that would be. So it's taking the ratio of the sides is equal to the ratio of the value you have divided by 1, and then solving that like you would any other equation. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Apple Pie. As always, if you have any questions or comments, something you want to go through again, go ahead and leave that for us in the comment section below in this video. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/theapplepie, where we put news for our channel. If there's anything new coming out, some changes we're making. Like our videos, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It means a lot to us when you guys help us out and do that. And thank you very much for watching.